Hey there again, Brody here with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table like this one. I have a copy of Kuiperium. It's a 2-player only card game using worker placement and hand management. Players take on the role of a corporation building a space station along the super asteroid belt. The goal here is to mine Kuiperium. This is a newly discovered element and is incredibly valuable. The overall idea is that you will be playing out a card into your tableau to gain its abilities, but also every card that you place is a worker placement location that can be only used by your opponent. So you will be adding cards that will help you possibly and also your opponent with the worker placement spots. This is the discovery board here, and you will be racing to get your spaceship tracker to the end before the other player does by gaining discovery points. And you can only advance if you have the shown number of discovery points listed on the next location. These are the Kuiperium cards, and each player will start the game with 4 of these, always keeping them hidden to themselves. At the beginning of the game, if you don't like any of the cards, you can place any number at the end of the deck and draw back to 4. Each player starts also with 3 random strategy cards. This is the main board here where you will be placing out cards and workers to take actions. And then your player board has 4 spots with affinity bonus tiles on them. Each player has 3 workers of their color as well to use. Understanding the cards is a good start to understanding this game. Each corner has a potential quarter of a circle. Black corners don't match with anything, and you want to match your corners with other similar colored corners. Multicolored corners are wilds and they can match with everything. And then there's, different colors. When placing out cards, you want to try to connect similar colors together, but it's not a requirement. If the card has a hexagon shown on it, then it can be used as a worker placement spot for the other player. You will also always be placing cards on your half of the board and placing workers only on the other side of the board. When the other player recalls their placed out workers on these spots, then they will receive the items listed on the top part of the card. It's positioned to face the player always, while the ability of your card is listed on the middle part of the card and it's positioned toward yourself. This will give you some type of action that you can perform or take. Players take turns taking actions where you can perform one of 5 different types of actions. You can add a card to your secret lab, you can play a card, you can play a worker, you can refresh your hand, or you can recall back your workers. Number 1, add a card to your secret lab. For this action, place a card from your hand into your secure lab face up. This is no longer considered a part of your hand any longer. When it's here, only 1 card can be in the slot at a time, and this is an action to use when a card might have a more powerful effect when playing it out of the secret lab, or if you want to have a specific card for the perfect timing to play out of it. Number 2, play a card. Choose a card from your hand or your secret lab and place it on a slot on the game board on the side of your board. The cards will always need to be placed with the card facing you, and they can be placed orthogonally or diagonally adjacent to a previously placed out card, or to the start location on the game board. After playing the card, you will activate its ability shown in the text. If you have one of your affinity bonus tiles activated and it matches one of those card types, then you can also use its effect as well. Number 3, play a worker. Play one of your available workers from your player board onto the main board on your opponent's side in a hexagon worker placement location. 1 worker is allowed per space, and there are starter locations available as well that will always be there for you to take. Number 4, refresh your hand. You will discard your current hand. This might even be when you don't have any cards in your hand, and you will draw 4 new cards from the deck. You have a hand limit of 8 cards throughout the game. Number 5, recall workers. 1 at a time in whatever order you'd like. Take back all your workers, triggering their recall rewards. Each worker should be fully resolved before resolving the next worker. as players play the game. Whenever their marker on the discovery track hits the strategy card icon, then they will be able to choose one of their face down strategy cards and set it aside. They then will play this strategy card for free at the beginning of their next turn, prior to taking their action. You will get most of your discovery points when recalling back workers from the control center, but there are other ways that you can do it as well. For this, you will pay 4 Kuiperium, choose a card in your play area to get rid of, and you will count its synergy value to gain that many discovery points. This is why you want to connect your cards with same colored corners to make a circle that will give you more points. So when doing this, you will choose your card to discard, and for each corner, you will count the number of matching adjacent colors of that card, either diagonal or adjacent. Black corners don't give you any synergy, so you count each other corner that matches it without counting that corner in that card that you're discarding and gain those discovery points. The trick is setting up ways to gain the correct amount of discovery points to move up on spaces, but not waste discovery points, not being able to take that next step on the track, as you don't have, enough discovery points, or you can't quite make it to the next one. It's a very interesting idea for a game, and I ultimately think it works well. The game isn't super long, plays in about an hour. Your choices don't seem to really change your progression in the beginning of the game until you start, jettisoning out cards to gain discovery points. And you will then realize how all of your decisions early in the game have actually really affected your movement on the discovery track later in the game. Lots of other actions will be determined by the type of cards that you draw, but the way to also play your cards or perform actions can change how efficient you are with the available options that you have. There is some take that in this game where you are, purposely doing something bad to the other player. There is, figuring out how to set up your resources and workers to be ready for other possible changes that happen throughout the game. And the game starts with a feeling of, a build up, and it comes to a point where you'll then focus on how you placed out your cards and how well you did it, that you can gain discovery points by taking those cards off of the board to get to the end of the discovery track. The game is actually pretty straightforward. There's one of 5 different actions that you're going to take on your turn. You decide which action, might be the best for you at that time. The hardest or most strategic part is doing 2 things at once, placing cards to take its action while also placing down the card in a good place to match the different corners that they have. Now, I think for being a 2-player only game, it has a spot that, many other 2-player only games don't have, and that's that the game still has some meat on it. There's some choices combined together, while playing the game. It's not a fast, light game, but it also is not a big, heavy, complex game. It hits that sweet spot being right there in the middle. Maybe a little bit more on the lighter side than on the heavier side, but still hitting the sweet spot. Again, this is Brody with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We are new and working hard to bring to you videos like this one, so you know if these games are ones that you want to get to your own table.